The Morning Inbox imagines Microsoft and Nintendo teaming up over VR, as one reader gets very excited about Forza Horizon 4x Halo. To join in with the discussions yourself, email gamecentral@acmetro.co.uk. I guess it's been inevitable that 2018 has not been as good as 2017 for games, at least not yet, but I have to say that as a long-suffering Monster Hunter fan it has been amazing. Not only is Monster Hunter World the best-selling of the series ever, the biggest game of the year on Steam, and the biggest Japanese game ever on Steam, it has now sold over 10 million copies worldwide. I would never have even dreamed this a year ago. I've been playing the series since the PSP days and have always loved it, but been frustrated that so few other people do. I get that before the controls were awkward and splitting levels up into little chunks was lame, but it just seemed like the thing was too Japanese in general to ever appeal to general audiences. The thing I love about World is that while they have rounded off some of the rough edges, they haven't really lost the tone or appeal of the series. It's still very Japanese and it's still super hard towards the end. I am so glad for Capcom and the success they have won for themselves by just sticking with it. I guess the power of the current-gen consoles helped a lot, so in that sense the game's time had just come. But to see it accepted on Steam as well, that's just great. Long live Monster Hunter. And if you haven't tried it yourself, now's the time to join the winning team. Ablo, I agree that Nintendo would be the best thing to happen to VR, it's just a shame that I don't see anyone they can be brought together. Nintendo will never make hardware powerful enough to run good VR, and Nintendo will never work with other companies to put their game expertise onto other headsets. I mean, they won't, but I would love if that's the thing that gets them and Microsoft working together. Never mind Banjo. It might finally stop some console wars too, which I find so pointless. We need competing consoles to prevent a monopoly, but that means fans should appreciate the fact there are rival companies, not resent it. That reader's letter about Xbox sales to date was pretty sobering and shows how far Microsoft are getting behind. Nintendo are also vulnerable every time there's a new generation, but together they could rule the galaxy as father and son, or something. Cranston, I know there are a lot of Forza fans on, and even some Halo fans hanging on too, but it looks like Forza Horizon 4 is going to feature even more Halo stuff than usual, with some cool-looking leaked screenshots on Reddit I saw. It seems to be a whole Halo-themed showcase event, with a proper Master Chief-style driver and everything. Not surprising given how much Microsoft seemed to be building up the hype again for Halo, but it does my heart good to see the Chief no longer being treated as second fiddle. A lot of the other picks all seem to revolve around trucks, which look like a lot of fun. I don't know if they're going to go for some kind of Euro Truck Simulator thing, but at the very least it looks like a homage to little-known Steven Spielberg flick The Duel. It's all good stuff, and I agree that Forza Horizon 4 is almost certainly going to be the best first-party game this Christmas, not a Super Smash Bros. Fan, Toto, email your comments to gamecentral@acmetro.co.uk. With all the excitement over Castlevania at the moment, I tried to look around and get into the series, and it's actually kind of hard. All the old games are really old and all the newer ones are on old Nintendo portables. Not exactly accessible to fans. Can GC or readers give some advice of not only which ones to try or how to actually get hold of them? I know they didn't start off as Metroidvanias, so which ones are the must-haves and how can I get feel for the series from playing as few as possible? If you know what I mean. Daka GC, the classic Mini NES and SNES are good places to start if you can get them, and are interested in their other games. The NES has Castlevania I and II, with the latter being the first non-linear entry in the franchise. The SNES has Super Castlevania IV, which is arguably the best of the 16-bit era. The Dracula X Chronicles on PSP, PS Vita is also a good one to get, if that's an option, as it has both Rondo of Blood and Symphony of the Night. Rondo of Blood is important as it's the missing link between the old games and the new action role-playing era begun by Symphony of the Night. I played the We Happy Few early access beta, or whatever it was, and I think it means I have access to the full thing now. And I still don't want to play it. According to the reviews, there's more story and missions now, but the original was just mind-numbingly bad. Like, I can't even begin to imagine what they were thinking with all the survival stuff and the horribly randomly generated map. It was like two completely different teams came up with an idea for a setting and a game and only found out about one another at the last minute. Bizarre to think that Microsoft has bought them, but I can imagine they'll be told to forget We Happy Few pretty quickly. Not that I imagine that'll be a problem by the end of the week even. Okay, I sound bitter, but I spent money on that game and it was awful. Although I see now they're trying to sell it for £55 online. Unbelievable. Rose Archie was so hyped for Overcooked 2. Me and my missus have had a great time playing through the manic levels. Loved what they have done with the sequel, especially the throwing food ability. But less than a week and it's all over. Time of writing. We have collected all stars on all levels, so we have nothing left to do. I'm not saying it was easy, but I was hoping for more of a challenge, just so the game lasted longer. Maybe it's easier with only 2 players. I've not played with more than 3. Story mode. How hard is it with 4 players? GC? Does the start targets double? Can't wait for some DLC. What are the chances of another Overcooked Christmas DLC? Titus Ursol's GC. The later levels are near impossible on your own, but it does get easier the more players you have. We'd be very surprised if there wasn't some DLC this year. I really liked the idea of the typewriter keyboard for Resident Evil Collector's Edition. After reading your story about it, I was surprised that they hadn't thought of an ink ribbon USB drive. Well, at least I didn't get any hits with an internet search. So if they do exist, I couldn't find them. Has GC ever heard of them? Titus Ursol's GC. We don't recall ever seeing them, but there is a lot of weirdly specific memorabilia in Japan. Catch up on every previous game's inbox here. Read Tanker's letter about Edge 25th anniversary. Received my issue today and I'm not disappointed. I love their anniversary issues and this one is no different. I was a little sad I didn't get the Master Chief images. Unlike Tanker, I absolutely believe it deserves its place on the cover. On its release, first-person shooters had rarely been a huge success on console, and Halo was a fundamental step forward in making the genre work on a controller. Plus, the artificial intelligence, vehicles, level design, and multiplayer were best in class. It led to first-person shooters being one of the most popular genres on console and basically saved Microsoft's entrance into the market. It even still plays great today. I appreciate that no game is fun for everyone, but to underestimate Halo is to misunderstand how much it impacted gaming on its release and its influence on the genre since. Darkhair Gamertag, Darkhair UK, PSN ID. Now that it's on Switch, I finally got around to playing Okami and I'm loving it so far. Can't believe these graphics are basically PlayStation 2, Sweetums. So are we not going to see anything about Metroid Prime 4 or Bayonetta 2 this year? I was so hyped by their reveals last year, and yet that's the one and only time they've ever talked about them. Googleplex GC. There's a good chance one or both will be at the Game Awards in December, or at least something new from Nintendo. The subject for this weekend's inbox was suggested by reader Frankie, who asks, what's the one game announcement you never expect to hear? With Gamescom coming up next week, what's the one thing you're confident won't be revealed? Whether it's a sequel, reboot, or some kind of hardware announcement, what do you think is the least likely, without being completely silly? What announcement have you given up any hope of hearing about, and why do you think it'll never happen? What's the most surprised you've ever been by an announcement, and how did the final product turn out? Email your comments to gamecentral@metro.co.uk. The small print new inbox updates appear twice daily, every weekday morning and afternoon. Readers' letters are used on merit and may be edited for length. You can also submit your own 500 to 600 word 4-player viewer features at any time, which if used will be shown in the next available weekend slot. If you need quick access to the Game Central channel page, please use www.metro.co.uk/games and don't forget to follow us on Twitter.